So today I'm going to talk about subtle forms of manipulation, often that arise in that narcissistic, empathic dynamic on both sides. Because how do you become a person that doesn't manipulate? The answer is that you don't want anything from people, right? So if you're an empath that's healing and you're healing from the perception that you have nothing to give, that you can't do life, that you're not strong enough to do something. Obviously, when you fix all those beliefs and you feel whole and you feel connected to the creator, you're not going to need to manipulate anybody to do anything for you, because you don't need anything from anyone. And people talk about the energy of needs in a relationship. I understand people have needs, we have certain needs, but the energy of need is more like the energy of what is called supply when you study about narcissism. Oh, like, and this is what I'm speaking to, just to be clear in my languaging. To become unmanipulatable and no longer a manipulator yourself, you have to not want anything from a person, physically, emotionally, spiritually even. And that doesn't mean that we are saying I do everything alone and I don't want emotional connection and I don't want compassion and I don't want nourishing energy. But I'm going to explain to you the difference between somebody that's in a manipulative energy that's looking for that versus someone who's in the field of wholeness and love that doesn't need it, but where it actually arises naturally. So I wanted to talk a little bit about subtle forms of abuse in narcissistic situations, because those are the most confusing and the hardest to extricate yourself from. Because let's say you're in a relationship with someone who has so many good qualities, maybe a great reputation, but their form of abuse is subtle. The emotional manipulation is subtle. It's not necessarily that they're cheating on you or lying or beating you or calling you names or trying to control you, like, trying to control where you're allowed to walk in the house or what you're allowed to wear or any of those things, which, by the way, are obvious red flags. Somebody that tells you how to dress or what you're allowed to have and not have in your own home, yes, this should go without saying that that's a form of abuse. But let's talk about subtle abuse. Subtle abuse from the narcissistic side is sometimes it just looks like disdain, contempt, and punisher energy. The narcissist suffers more from a sadistic personality structure where they will punish you for sometimes like insane amounts of time, for like the punishment does not fit the crime, right? There's such thing as proactive confrontation, but they'll hold it against you in their energy. Like, so even if it's not blatant, overt abuse, like they're not showing up in their heart, in their presence, they're showing up like this, like in disdain, like you're a constant, like you aren't giving them the supply that they need. It's like you might have apologized for a mistake you made, and no matter how many times you apologize, it's not enough for them because they need sympathy. Part of the narcissist supply is sympathy, because it's ironic. In the narcissistic empathic dynamic, the narcissist is actually more of a victim at the end of the day, which you wouldn't think that's the case. And by the way, the victim is always in charge. This is something that I've learned in my work in Rohan. And of course, the empath is its own kind of victim. I'm not saying we're blaming narcissists. Both victims are in charge of their own suffering. So subtle forms of abuse can be like never forgiving you for something. Again, blaming you for everything. Nothing is conflict. A conflicted relationship is never anybody's fault. This is common sense. This is also a spiritual fact. Right? I highly recommend that everybody study Kabbalah. There's a course that they're practically giving away, Kabbalah1.com. The guy I've been referencing, his name is David Guillaume. They're practically giving it away. Study it. It's wonderful. And they teach a lot about relationships and how to take personal responsibility in a loving way and how to become empowered. and how to create your primary relationship with the creator. And that's ultimately the solution of how to stop being a manipulator and stop being abusive. It's that you're not looking to fill yourself in the physical world anymore. You fill yourself with the light of the creator. But like, you can do that when you're alone, but then it's in relationship, you have to practice like not taking out your daddy issues on your partner. Oh, so your daddy never, bought you things when you were a child. Well, you can't get angry at your partner for not, buying things that you think he should be buying you. Oh, your mommy never gave you the love that you wanted as a child, right? She didn't give you the attention. She was hard on you. Well, you can't take that out on your partner for not being the mother that you never had. Like, that's emotional manipulation. And a lot of times, I have to say, I have quite a nourishing personality, and people are often looking for mothers. Men are often looking for mothers, and if you don't feel that you have a strong relationship with the light of the creator, you'll buy into the role of playing the mother, because you don't believe you have inherent worth and supply from the creator. So your supply will come from playing a role of being a mother. So again, let's go back to subtle forms of abuse. So there's obvious forms of abuse, like I mentioned, but there's like holding you at arm's length, never forgiving you, punishing you for long amounts of time, pointing out what's wrong with you. You're like, this feels like a competition. It's, I'm the good one, you're the bad one. This is the narcissist experience. I'm the good one, you're the bad one. You need to fix yourself. I'll call your therapist and tell you what you need to fix about yourself. There's no team effort. There's no love. Is like, you feel taking somebody as part of you. Like, love would say like, okay, like clearly like there's issues in this. Maybe we don't know how to communicate. Maybe we're not hearing each other. Maybe we need some help. Maybe we need another perspective so that we can actually come to a place of understanding. The narcissist doesn't want to understand you. He or she wants sympathy, and for you to agree with whatever story they're telling. And even if you hear them, and even if you hear them out, if they don't feel satiated with the amount of sympathy that they require, they'll keep punishing you and keep punishing you and keep punishing you. And that is part of that. That's part of that construct. That's part of the vehicle of the narcissist, who's living in the big transformer costume where they feel bigger than everyone. At the end of the day, the driver of that big transformer robot is a little child that's pissing themselves, and that child is walking around in that big costume, bullying people for sympathy. And like, unless a person wants to get out of that costume, out of that big robot, like, unless they want to get out and confront their insecurities, their fears, their fear of life, their fear of rejection, their limiting narratives, unless they want to do that, which is very hard for them to do because the payoff of that big ass robot is just too satiating for them. It's too satiating for them, until perhaps maybe later on in life where they realize they have no one in their life on a deep level. They keep it that way. And if you're in a dynamic with someone where you feel this is going on and you realize like they don't really talk to anyone, they don't share, they don't have an outlet, the problem is that they will use often their intimate partner as the dumpster ground for everything that they are not willing to feel. Because often a narcissist, especially a narcissist with a benefic personality, with a charitable healer type personality, because they want to be seen as a totally still, totally enlightened, totally controlled, totally benefic type of personality. They might have great conscious control over their brain waves. They might have control over the tone of their voice. But really, they are so enraged, just like everybody has rage. But the problem with someone who's living in a construct of perfection and being a saint and being good, like this is like the most unfortunate type of narcissist, because there's so much payoff in being seen this way. there's so much payoff, right? The payoff of the malignant criminal or the malignant politician is like, yeah, they get some power and whatever, but like the payoff for this kind of a person is like they honestly believe that they're the best person, that they're so good. But then in relationship, they take all of their unhealed rage out on the other person, and sometimes, like I said, disdain, contempt, punishing you, being unforgiving, being unwilling to take personal accountability. Somebody who is just completely, if you're someone like me, I change very quickly. I heard Monica Berg, who's a woman that I admire, say, you know, everybody always tells me, like, oh, you're so different from the last time I saw you. And that's the biggest compliment. That's like me. If you know Gene Keys, like my vocation and my life's work are Gene Key 49, which is moving from reaction to rebirth. And it's called the Codon Ring of the Whirlwind. And unfortunately, if people can't evolve with me, like it's hard for me to stay connected with them. I can't control it, but I move very quickly because I want to. I'm telling you, like that's the thing. I had manipulative tendencies. I felt so unempowered. I made choices from unempowered, broken places where even, for example, when I was a lawyer, and I, you know, I have a JD, I have a PhD, or I almost have a PhD. I am a very educated, intelligent human being, and I know that, and I know I'm capable, and I passed the bar exam when I was undergoing cancer treatment and finishing law school in a third language. Like, I know, like consciously, I feel pretty capable, but like, I could feel this thing underneath that, like, even created the cancer that I had. That like a part of me like really believed that I needed to kind of like hire or connect myself to more narcissistic types of people and give my power away because I didn't have a relationship with the light of the creator. I didn't have a relationship with the light of the creator. I need the narcissist to be the viable player in the physical world because I'm such an intense feeler and I'm so fragile and delicate, and therefore like I can't manage and direct creative energy because I'm just so sensitive. I'm like an exposed nerve, which I still am, but the difference is that I'm still an exposed nerve, but I also have a relationship with the light of the creator. I know I am the creator, I know I am source, but me as an individual, my primary relationship is with the light of the creator. And therefore, I don't need to manipulate a man. I don't need to manipulate anyone to get something physical because I know I can create the physical life that I want. I know that I don't need to, this has been more challenging for me. Like for me, the biggest fear that I experience is the fear of abandonment. So it's been hard for me to disconnect fully from people. And now I'm walking that path of like, okay, I actually want to be alone. I had a partner since I was 15. I want to be alone, even if it's just for a little while, because I just want to feel myself totally and feel my relationship with the light of the creator and just feel my wholeness without having anything to validate me. And who knows, that could take like 30 days, right? It's just a process that I need to go through that I'm like, I want to become a person that is unmanipulatable, unabusable, and therefore the solution is to develop your relationship with the light of the creator. That's the only way to feel whole. I love what Cher said when she said, I love men, I don't need them. I am a rich man. And I'm not saying to stay stuck in your masculine energy, and that's not what she was saying. She was saying, I love men, I don't need them. I don't need to pick a man to settle down and marry a rich man. I don't need to pick someone for those reasons that women typically make choices for those reasons. I don't want to be that kind of a person. Ever since I heard that interview like a long time ago, like it set my heart on fire because I knew that was my goal as a soul. I want to be unmanipulatable. I don't want to manipulate people. I don't want to abuse people. I want to feel whole, and I want to feel unequivocally that I am the creator, and that's my great work. So, but it's been hard for me to extricate myself from things at times, because part of the reason is because I do find it hard to be alone, or I change quickly, so in 30 days when I make a new video, I'm going to tell you it was the best experience of my life. But look, subtle forms of abuse are not always overt. They're not always obvious. And this can be confusing to an empath that has a wound of feeling gaslighted. Because you're like, well, they have a great reputation. And because the empath pedestalizes, right, that's part of the pathology, it's part of the symptoms. Sometimes it's like you pathologize, you give your power away. Because I have no power, I'll give my power away to you. And oh, if you happen to be my partner and you happen to be someone who is very has many beautiful qualities, but yet I still at the end of the day feel that when it comes to our relationship, the relating aspect, there's something off about it. I don't feel loved. I don't feel, and it's, of course there is this thing where you might not be able to accept love into your life, which is why you might not literally be able to perceive love from another person, because you need to work on feeling worthy to receive it. And sometimes being alone is a good way to do that, to make yourself the love of your life. Practice giving yourself that love. That will heal the unworthiness to love. But what I'm talking about is that if you feel that you are being used in a transactional way, and that looks like the person does not accept your humanity, they're unforgiving. Like, unless you fit an image of perfection, because the narcissist wears this big costume, they love anything, all the accoutrement that comes with buttressing that vehicle. So a really stunning partner, a really, expensive objects, I don't know, all the things that feed all the supply. They like that feeling of being big. So if you don't support that, if you feel like they're tugging on you for that, and you don't want to give it to them, they'll start fights with you. They'll start to put in a lot of emphasis on your bad qualities. Again, they will not take responsibility. They will not take responsibility. If you are confused and you're intertwined in a dynamic like this, take these bullet points as a way to know that you need to disconnect. The person has no self-responsibility. They blame you for everything. They blame you for everything. And that's if it feels very stubborn and they loop and loop and loop on the same stories of blame, you can't buck that current. You cannot buck that current. They are consistently speaking to you as a subordinate. You're the bad one. You're the dark one. It's you that's messed up. It's you that has problems. And often the painful thing is that an empath that's healing from unhealthy empathy often does have a messier past, because one, they might have experienced an illness. Another thing is they do have volatile reactions, because sometimes they feel that they're in an unhealthy dynamic, but they can't name it. They can't say it out loud. And because they suffer from gaslighting, if nobody else can validate it for them, they get confused and assume that everything must be their fault. So they just stay in the dynamic for longer, only to be proven down the line that they are the bad one, because they will be the recipient of blame. Another thing that I wanted to point out, a subtle form of abuse, is, look, I'm a very psychic person, and I feel very clearly this phenomenon called competing desires. Competing desire could be someone who tells you they love you, tells you that they want to marry you, but inside they really don't. You can feel unequivocally they don't want that. Competing desire. And if you watch them over time, their desire for distance is greater than their desire for what they're saying out loud. If you're an empath and you feel these things, believe what you feel. Believe what you feel. If a person hasn't come to a place of alignment and certainty and inner union about what they want in regards to you, do not waste any time waiting for them to figure it out. Trust me, what you feel is absolutely the truth. what you feel is absolutely the truth, and then you'll try to move on from that, and they will get extremely disturbed, not because they love you, because their supply is being cut, right? They feel rejected, even though they may have been the one that blatantly rejected you. When they feel rejected, they will create a sadistic drama to blame you for how they feel. So I hope this is eye-opening. Watch for competing desires. If you feel this reality, it is real. If somebody is saying something but you feel unequivocally that they aren't ready for what they're saying, don't wait for them to get to that point. Just move on with your life, and perhaps you disconnecting from them will wake them up and bring them clarity of desire. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.